Hey guys, Dr. Brown here with Kubo Math coming to you from Tarlac City, Philippines. And we have a unique video tonight. I just wanted to pass along money management tips to you. My daddy taught me 3 rules of managing money. And when I would do those and adhere to those rules, then life was okay. You didn't feel so much pressured. You weren't under so much of a strain to try to make ends meet if you could manage these 3 rules. They're not all easy to manage, but when you can do it, hey, you'll be okay. All right. So, the questions, can we buy the house? Can we buy that car? Is driving this far and all these transportation costs, is it okay? How can we do those things? And those are the questions a lot of people say, well, yeah, I think I can do this. And then they buy that house and, oh man, that's too big of a burden. Too much. Or buy that car. Oh, wow. Hey, it's a cool car. That new leather, smells good. But then those monthly payments, whoa. Okay, so I'm breaking those questions into 3 categories: dwelling, transportation, and total amount owed. Okay? All right, in your dwelling, you could, if you're living in a big city, you may be renting an apartment, or you may be in the countryside renting a house. You may not own the house. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. And matter of fact, they say if you're not going to be there over 7 years, it doesn't pay to buy it anyway. Okay, something to think about. All right, so your dwelling. Your monthly payments for that dwelling, the payments need to be less than or equal to 25% of your monthly net income. Now, what does that mean? Well, net income would be after taxes, after everything that the government and all it's been taken out. I always like to say it's what I walk in the door of my home with. That's my net income. So your payments for your dwelling, apartment or house, whatever it happens to be, those payments need to be less than or equal to 25% of your monthly net income. So if you make 1,000 peso, here it'd be 10,000 might be a common worker's wage, 10,000 pesos. So if your rent cost over 2,500 in a month, that's too much. Now it could be up to that 2,500. So that would be okay. So if you're making 1,000 in the U.S., $1,000 per month, your house payments over $250, it's too much. Okay? Transportation. So those costs associated with that, with transportation costs, and that would be the price of the car, your gas, some of those things, it needs to be less than or equal to 15% of your monthly net income. I'm going to just say MNI, monthly net income. Okay, so again, if you're making that 1,000 US dollars and you need to keep that below 150, and you're thinking, whoa, most car payments are 400. Exactly. There's the problem. Don't buy that new car. Buy something less, a used car. It's because, unless you're living in a tent out in the backyard, I guess together, if you're making 1,000 a month, well, if you're making 1,000 a month, you don't need a $400 car payment, period. But again, your transportation costs need to be less than or equal to 15% of your monthly net income. Now then, never owe more than your gross annual income. So your owed needs to be less than or equal to your gross annual income. So if you gross $100,000 a year, don't need to owe over $100,000. That one's the difficult one to maintain because of the cost associated with a home. Lots of homes are $250,000. And the challenge there becomes if you get to owing too much, well, it's just like any country. If you look at what do they want their debt to be, they don't want it to be over 98% actually of their gross domestic product. So this rule really is what countries try to maintain. They want to owe less than the revenue that they're bringing in each year. It's just the same for us as an individual. We don't want to owe more than our monies that's coming, our total gross monies. This is before taxes. Okay, so these will be your 3 rules. So you can see if you add these 2 together, that's 40%. Dwelling and transportation, total cost of those 2 is 40%. It leaves you 60% for what? For groceries, for doctor bills, for other things that come up. Now, you'll see in this, in my case, I never had a 4-wheeler. I had certain things I didn't buy. I've been to some of my friends' homes years ago, and the guy struggled with money all the time. And we went to his home and had supper, and he had every kind of electronic gadget you could imagine. I didn't have any of that. I mean, I had a nice home. I had some things, but I just looked at life a little differently. I just tried to maintain these 3 areas. Now, there were a few times in my life I didn't do that. Ended up having a huge car payment one time. Shouldn't have bought the vehicle, and I did, and it was on a 5-year note. So for the next 5 years, I was really challenged with that. Now, so what did I do to try to help myself? Well, I Pareto out what I owed. So O-W-E-D. So what were the total monies I owed? So I had bill number 1, bill number 2, 3, 4, 5, and I Paretoed those out. Most owed to the least owed. So if I'm working overtime at my job, what did I do? Well, I'm paying extra. Well, don't pay extra on this bill. Pay extra on that bill. The bill you owe the least on, that's the one you want to pay extra if you have an extra money or you've worked overtime. Pay on that one. Once you pay that off, take what monies you were paying extra on this one and what you were paying on that one, the actual bill itself, and add those monies to this one. And then once you complete that one, put all of that on this one, all of that on this one. And pretty soon, you'll probably be down to, if you own a home, you'll probably be down to just that. Or if you're renting a home, you may be down to a car payment and, a couple of big payments, or just one. Years ago, there was a friend at work. He had cancer, and he was in the hospital for a period of time, and we were all working extra to cover for him. No need to hire somebody. We'll just work extra, and once he gets through his difficult time, he'll have a slot to come back to. So we worked extra, and in the first week or two, we have big money. And then I thought, man, he's going to be out for like 6 months. So we're going to work extra for 6 months. And let's say at that time, you're getting an extra 10 hours of overtime at time and a half. So that's 15 extra hours of money. So I started doing this, and by the time he came back to work, the only thing I owed for was my house. So then we could take, once you get to that point, then you can put all this in savings. And thank goodness I did some things like that, because I have spinal stenosis now and can't work. So I do 15-minute videos and then lay down. Okay. All right, so 3 rules: dwelling, transportation, and total amount owed. Keep your dwelling payments less than or equal to 25% of your monthly net income. transportation less than or equal to 15% of your monthly net income, and never owe over your gross annual income. If you'll do those three things, you'll feel much more, well, you'll have money every now and then to go take your wife or significant other out to eat. So, let's do some simple things. So hopefully this helps. Look at your finances. If you need to pay off some things, go through this Pareto as we defined here. Why are we doing these things? Hey, together we want to build a better tomorrow, and we're going to do that through math. Okay, that's all for now, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.